плен, не сдавайтесь, вас убьют. Лучше сами себя убейте, застрелитесь. Там гранатой взорвитесь, заберите с собой противника.
A prisoner of war, reportedly captured by Russian forces, has unveiled claims about Ukraine's battlefield strategies that have drawn sharp reactions. In a video released by the Russian Ministry of Defense, the individual alleged that Ukrainian soldiers are subjected to intense ideological indoctrination, fostering what he described as a jihadist mindset. According to his account, Ukrainian forces are trained to prioritize combat at any cost, including being instructed not to surrender and, in the most extreme scenarios, to detonate themselves with grenades in order to inflict casualties on nearby Russian servicemen. The video has been widely circulated on Russian state media, accompanied by commentary positioning these allegations as evidence of Ukraine's extreme tactics. The captured individual, speaking under unclear circumstances, described a psychological and ideological conditioning process that he claims Ukrainian soldiers undergo before deployment. He alleged that this indoctrination seeks to instill an unwavering commitment to their mission, discouraging any form of capitulation, even under dire circumstances. This narrative aligns with broader Russian propaganda aimed at portraying Ukraine as adopting what it describes as radical or extreme approaches to warfare. The Kremlin has repeatedly framed Ukraine's resistance to its invasion as the product of Western-backed ideological extremism, aiming to delegitimize Kyiv's military efforts and rally domestic and international support for its actions in the conflict. Ukraine has not issued an official response to these specific allegations, but previous claims of extreme tactics have been strongly denied by Kyiv. Ukrainian officials have consistently asserted that their military operates within the bounds of international law and maintains strict codes of conduct, even as they face immense pressure defending against Russian advances. They argue that such narratives are part of Moscow's disinformation campaign designed to demoralize Ukrainian forces and sway international opinion. The content of the video raises broader questions about the treatment of prisoners of war and the reliability of their testimonies under captivity. International human rights organizations have previously expressed concerns about the use of prisoners of war in propaganda, emphasizing that coerced statements violate the Geneva Conventions. The conditions under which this particular testimony was given remain unclear, and independent verification of the prisoner's claims has not been possible. This development comes against the backdrop of an intensely brutal conflict that has seen both sides accuse each other of adopting unconventional and sometimes unlawful battlefield strategies. Russia has repeatedly accused Ukraine of targeting civilian infrastructure, while Ukraine has accused Russia of widespread war crimes, including the deliberate targeting of civilians, indiscriminate shelling, and the use of banned weapons. Both nations have dismissed the allegations against themselves as baseless or exaggerated. The claim that Ukrainian soldiers are indoctrinated to adopt suicide tactics is particularly striking, as it evokes associations with groups operating under entirely different ideological frameworks, such as militant jihadist organizations. This comparison, if strategically disseminated, could serve to further polarize perceptions of the conflict, especially among audiences less familiar with the nuances of the war in Ukraine. Experts have noted that both Russia and Ukraine have invested heavily in shaping the narrative of the conflict, utilizing a range of media, from state channels to social media platforms. These narratives often aim to bolster domestic support while eroding the resolve of their opponent and influencing international allies. Analysts caution against taking claims made in the heat of conflict at face value, highlighting the importance of corroboration through independent sources. The allegations also bring to light the psychological toll of the war on soldiers. Prolonged exposure to combat, ideological training, and the harsh realities of frontline life inevitably impact the mental and emotional well-being of troops on both sides. Military analysts note that instilling a strong fighting spirit is a common practice across armed forces worldwide, but the ethical boundaries of such training remain a point of contention. From Ukraine's perspective, the resistance of its soldiers is often framed as a reflection of the nation's broader struggle for sovereignty and survival in the face of overwhelming odds. Kyiv has consistently highlighted the sacrifices of its military personnel, emphasizing their courage and resilience as the backbone of the country's defense. However, allegations such as those made in the video threaten to overshadow this narrative, potentially complicating Ukraine's efforts to maintain international support. The international community has largely sided with Ukraine, condemning Russia's invasion as a violation of international law and providing military and financial aid to bolster Kyiv's defenses. However, reports like this, regardless of their veracity, risk being weaponized in the broader battle for global opinion. Countries less aligned with the West, or those adopting a neutral stance in the conflict, may view such accusations with greater skepticism toward both sides. The use of prisoners of war in propaganda further underscores the complexity of the conflict and the challenges of maintaining transparency. Human rights organizations have reiterated calls for both Russia and Ukraine to adhere to international humanitarian law regarding the treatment of prisoners. This includes refraining from using detainees in public statements or media that could be interpreted as coercive or propagandistic. As the war continues to grind on with no clear resolution in sight, the information battle remains as critical as the physical one. Both Russia and Ukraine are vying for the moral high ground, aiming to secure not only battlefield victories but also the hearts and minds of their respective domestic populations and the international community. Incidents like this latest video highlight the stakes involved in this parallel struggle, where perception can influence policy, aid, and long-term support. The claims made by the prisoner of war, whether verified or not, serve as a stark reminder of the human cost and psychological dimensions of the conflict. They also underline the importance of impartial investigation and reporting in ensuring that the truth prevails amid the fog of war. As the situation develops, it is likely that both sides will continue to leverage such narratives, making the need for careful scrutiny and accountability more urgent than ever.